So we're going through a lateral hip giant set. We're going to go through 4 different movements, okay? And the aim is that you're actually going to combine them all into one continuous set when you get the hang of each one, okay? So movement 1, okay, is just more of a single leg balance. Staying beside a wall or having a dowel nearby would be useful if you really struggle with balance. But the idea is I'm trying to get this leg, okay, far away from the body, and I'm trying to stay stable through my left hip, okay? Obviously this is going to be a challenging position to hold, but what I want to avoid is that you're shifting a lot with your upper body, okay, to balance, or you're dumping or sort of moving excessively through the working hip, okay? So we want to be nice and tall through the working hip, and then we're going to hold, okay? We're going to hold this for time. And if you can get this right leg further, go for it, but don't let it come at the expense of the stabilization and balance in the working hip, okay? As you get stronger, you'll be able to lift that the other leg as well, and you'll be able to get a burn in both hips at the same time. So be nice and active through this working hip. We don't want to be side, we really want to be pushed through and be nice and tall in this movement, okay? So next movement, we are going to do something similar, but we're just going to sink to the side. So I'm thinking of my working hip coming all the way to the side, and then I'm pushing all the way through and out. So coming in, and I'm pushing all the way out. So I'm really thinking it's like a hip thrust, but instead of going forward, I'm really thinking of thrusting my hips through to the other side, okay? So we're going to come here. So let that side happen. Here's where we stretch the hip, and then here's where we push through. You might need to reposition or touch your foot off the ground now and again if you're really struggling with balance. I know I am. And we're going to go through that for reps. Okay? So then, next movement is going to be called a hip hike. So with this, I'm just going to think, and I can put my other hand on my hip here to help me feel that area lengthen, but I'm going to let it come all the way down and up all the way. So down and up. Okay, so I'm thinking of almost my non-working hip sinking towards the floor, and then I'm pulling it all the way up to the sky, and I'm using the fibers of my working hip here to do that. I'm not like using my upper body too much, but I'm thinking of the hip, the fibers sort of lengthening and shortening in this working area to do that. Okay, I'm just going to show you from this side so you can see a little bit better. All the way down, all the way up. So we're struggling, and the last one is basically combining all the movements together, okay? So we are going to, again, I like to have my hand holding this other side here to help me feel this hip a little bit more, but I'm going to hike and then push through the other way and extend the non-working leg, although it will work if you lift it high enough. So let it lengthen, and then push through. Let it lengthen, and push through. Let it sink and lengthen, push through. And if you need to use if you need to use hand support for balance, specifically for this last movement because it can be quite tough, then you can do that, okay? So either in your exercise notes, I will let you know whether I would like you to use hand support so you can isolate the hip more without having to worry about balance. But if we're actually looking to improve that balance, then you'd be asked to perform the movements without that hand support, okay? Neither is right or wrong. We are just adjusting the movement to where you're at, okay? So that's it. Feel that lengthening and then that shortening. It's a bit of a tricky movement, so do give it time. It takes time to get the hang of this, but once done really well, it's an incredible movement for strengthening this area, and that is your lateral hip thrust giant set.